Hello and welcome to Free at Last, part 2. So I'm beginning just looking at these tomatoes ripening in this outdoor protected zone I've got, which protected the plants from lots of predators. So Free at Last, part 2. So what I want to explain in part 1, I took you through my journey of uncovering and writing out in as much detail as possible my core wounding, and then sealing the pages up into an envelope where they will not be looked at for at least 21 days. Such an important part of the process because it just frees the person who's writing to write in this really uncensored manner, which ends up connecting fully to all of the feelings. And that was the clue, wasn't it? It was writing it up in as much detail as possible, getting in touch with and sharing about the feelings. And this is the way to get the traumas out. So that's what I wrote about, that's what I made a film about, and that's what I wrote about. So what I want you to know is it was a very intensive process. It took me 5 days, and it was really on the 5th day that I got really deeply into grips with the feelings. The first 4 pages more about describing the events in detail, and it's the feelings, the uncovering, the getting them out, that is such a precious part of this particular journey. So that's what happened, and after a full working week of doing that, I needed to rest, which is certainly what I did do, and rest for me includes dancing and other such things that nurture my creativity, my spirit, my soul. So that's very much what I did, as well as actually just simply resting. And it was the day after that 5-day process that I suddenly realized I did not actually need to medicate myself to make life bearable through daily smoking. So I've not done so ever since. I'm on day 19 now. So after my rest, the next thing that happened is I became aware that this great influx of energy which had poured into me through the releasing process, I was getting a feeling, which is what I've done effectively. I'll give you the metaphor. Imagine someone tosses a really big rock into a pond. Well, there's the big initial splash, but then there's all the ripples that ripple out from the tossed stone. And that's very much what I've been dealing with. So what I've been doing is I've been uncovering each of the ripples, and because I'm a shamanic practitioner, because I'm someone that has analysed and recorded my dreams for many years, a long time ago, then what I'm finding quite automatically is in my dream life, we know that Jung said the dream is the royal road to the unconscious. Well, that's what's happening. My unconscious is literally parceling the information out a bit at a time, a dream at a time, a night at a time. So I get a dream, I wake up, I write out in detail the memories that the dream has triggered, and I've uncovered all sorts of times in my life, the most surprising one being time 0, my birth. I got a whole load of information about that, and this is the thing I really want to make very, very clear to you indeed, which is that I am literally flabbergasted by the memories that are coming up. Names, dates, events, some of which I'm familiar with from my memory, and some which I'd completely forgotten. They're all coming up, they're all coming out. And so I simply write it all out. And the longest period of time I spend doing this is 3 hours. You can imagine this is an extremely demanding process. And I think probably the shortest period of time would be 1 hour, something like that. So I end up with, say, between 5 and 17 pages worth of written material. Put it in the envelope, put the date when I'm allowed to open it, put it away in the drawer, seal, forget all about it, and move on. And this is what I want to make really clear to you. If you are one of the people that realizes that actually this is something you need to be doing, this is how you need to be dealing with your trauma, and this is Kathy O'Brien's PTSD, A Time to Heal, literally a lifesaver as far as I'm concerned. Well, the thing that you need to be very keenly aware of, if this is your journey, is that when you've done the writing, it's time to go into intensive self-care and self-nurturing. Now, one of the things that you might find is that you need to do a lot of 3D activities. This is certainly in my case. I become intensively 3D for the rest of the day. I obviously look after plants in the polytunnel, but I find myself doing other things. DIY cleaning, gardening. These are really helpful. I'm not so much going out into the nature as I thought I would do. It needs to be physical activity, because what happens is an enormous amount of energy is released in the doing of this work, and I feel this is the way it needs to be channeled, very creatively and very 3D. So this is what my life has become. So the first part of the day, it's the dreaming at night, then it's the writing out early in the morning, and that's the other thing, my rhythms has shifted. So we've got this incredible heat wave at the moment in the UK, but even when it was raining it was the same story. Early morning, writing it out, and then the nurturing, so preparing a lot of food for myself, very high nutrition foods, very, very important. Lots and lots of really good food, and I do mean a lot, far more than usual, because I really need it. And I found the 3D stuff is great. The other thing is, it's very important to have a nourishing, nurturing book or TV show or film up your sleeve, so that when you just need to flop down and immerse yourself in some escapism, it's there, it's organised, it's all ready. I cannot imagine life would have been like without access to a book, or books to be more accurate, or Netflix. They are literally lifesavers in this process, very important indeed. So this is the way it's going. So I am in an incredibly blessed position in my life, because what's happened is that all my work, barring one activity, which is the forthcoming retreat, it's all evaporated away into mist. All the various people that were requesting services from me, they've all just vanished, and I'm left to do this work on my own. And I'm living in trust, I'm living in the understanding that I will be provided for, that this work is the most important thing I can do. So this is the exciting bit I want to share with you. When I'm writing about a black depression, for example, I feel it fully and completely. When I'm writing about feeling full of life, vitality, ebullience and joy and delight and love, I feel it fully as well. And after whatever these feelings I feel, it doesn't seem to matter, no matter how gloriously positive or horrifically negative, doesn't matter at all. What happens afterwards is I just have this extraordinary feeling of well-being. And the way that I see it is, it's like, it's steps at a time, a great rush of new energy, doing stuff, working quite hard, working physically with my body, eating a lot of food, resting, chilling out, diverting myself with book, Netflix, whatever, going to bed early, and then the same thing the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. The only thing I feel I'm able to do in the way of socialization is dance, because all the dance I do is ecstatic dance. There are no words. No one expects anyone to speak to anyone. In fact, quite the opposite. Everyone expects that they're going to be left alone. No one's going to say a word to you, unless you want to stay for the circle at the end, and then you get a chance to say something, and you will listen to, so you are not interrupted. These are all very powerful practices, just because I'm lucky enough to be living where I am. So up to twice a week I get to do that. I also have the wonderful opportunity to do yin yoga, which I'm finding very useful indeed. It's where you hold the yoga postures for up to 5 minutes at a time. So you do a small number of postures and you hold them so the body gets a chance to really release. And this also helps the process of the trauma release as well. So this is what my life is. It's literally declined down to this. This is it. This is a rare exception for me to making this film. I just want to share with you what is going on so that you understand, and if this is a process for you, then look at the first film, because I will have provided the link to this wonderful ebook by Kathy O'Brien, which is simply called PTSD, Time to Heal. And I have this knowing, this deep intuitive understanding that what's happening to me is I am on my path to my liberation. And I was very excited by the uncovering of the details of the stone being dropped into the water, but I'm realizing that the ripples actually are just as important, because what I'm doing now is I'm beginning to put it all together. I'm beginning to see the patterns. I'm beginning to understand why my life has been and is as it is. I'm starting to understand why I am actually very cautious about the way I am approaching socialization in this new part of the world to me. And it's just an extraordinary ride that I'm on, and it's just taken over everything else. So there's a lot of people I'm not in touch with anymore. I simply don't have the energy, and that was how it will need to be. And I'm very much looking forward to the forthcoming retreat, which is now full at the end of the month. And I know, well, I have this feeling, I have this intention, that by the time I arrive at that retreat, I will have written out either all that I need to write, or so much that it's going to be a completely different experience for me than I've ever had before. And I'm going to feel more free, more energetic, more vital, more vitality, more ebullience, and more me. So that's my story, part 2. Can't remember the title, but you know what it is anyway. All the love to you.